Welcome to the channel PK 2023. Hope everyone has a good time watching our videos. If this was Borthball at its finest, it is a tough watch. Steve Borthwick's England will not get close to Ireland or France without greater adventure and trusting Smith and Arundel. For a coach of Steve Borthwick's steely pragmatism, the ends always justify the means. A tough test match was how he toasted this victory after a grindingly attritional contest. It was also, frankly, a tough watch. What we witnessed here in Cardiff was not just the tactical naivete of a Wales side addled by contractual uncertainty and a collapsing confidence, but the grimly one-dimensional nature of an England team still struggling to release the handbrake. If this was Borthball at its finest, then many England supporters could be forgiven, even after a first win in Wales for 6 years, for a few muffled hulls of despair. It was not just that Owen Farrell endured one of his most chastening days as an international fly-half, never mind as captain, seeing a kick charged down before missing 4 out of 5 from the tee, the last 2 by wide margins. It was the fact that Marcus Smith and Henry Arundel, arguably the 2 players most capable of electrifying the attack, came on for just 14 seconds each. What value, honestly, is a test cap when you barely have time to make a single carry? And what must it do the self-belief of Smith and Arundel when they are restricted to such blink-and-you-will-miss-it cameos? Borthwick, true to form, was unapologetic, saying simply, all the players are desperate to play. He saw no problem in giving 2 of his most thrilling talents less combined exposure than a TMO review. In fact, he hardly saw any deficiencies in this performance at all, ascribing every facet of England's best work to Farrell. The basis of the result. We changed things tactically, and that's an immense credit to Owen, and England's reaction to the setback of Lewis Rees-Zammit's try. It just shows how the team is growing under Owen's leadership. It is understandable that Borthwick should, in only his 3rd match in charge, view this spectacle with a red rose-tinted perspective. But he sounded at times as if he had been watching a different game to everyone else. Phenomenal, he called it, describing how stirred he had been by the fleeting bursts of swing low, sweet chariot around the Principality Stadium. The verdict seemed a touch generous for an occasion that, Anthony Watson's rousing first-half try side, had been dominated by grisly kicking exchanges that stood in the starkest contrast to the running rugby served up by Ireland and Italy in Rome. Do not expect to see any philosophical shift from England. Farrell is, despite his dismal kicking success rate, the ultimate undroppable in Borthwick's eyes. Almost all England's play goes through him, and no matter how dramatically his game goes awry, he is a consummate loyalist, faithfully parroting the coach's platitudes about the journey, the steps forward and the foundations. It is strange to hear a player with 109 test caps talk as if he and his teammates have been told to forget everything they previously knew about rugby. The rhetoric is not merely about renewing, but rebooting. We're learning to play the way Steve wants us to play, Farrell said. It is a style that could, on the evidence of this cathartic win in front of a feeble Cardiff crowd, prove effective. But it would not win many marks for artistic sophistication. England, whenever in doubt, trusted in the boot. Just as Farrell appeared obsessed with his grubbers against Italy, Jack Van Poortvliet was the man entrusted with kicking the life out of Wales. It did not appear to matter where the ball ended up, only that he hoofed it into the upper ionosphere. Woe betide anyone who questions Borthwick's fondness for kicking. It's a part of the contest, he said, describing how he had spent his morning watching the Crusaders against the Chiefs, noting that even the best teams in the Southern Hemisphere were not averse to taking the aerial route. But if this is to be an ingrained habit for England, it will not take long before it starts to grate. The solace for Borthwick lies in the knowledge that they won. In the same way that his Leicester side developed a reputation for triumphing in difficult places, he can now claim the distinction of coming to Cardiff and securing England's healthiest margin of victory here for 20 years. But just as political leaders are judged by how much of their manifestos they deliver, it is reasonable to judge how much of Borthwick's original declaration of intent is being realized. What I want to do, he said on his unveiling in December, is to make sure that this team uses the power of rugby to get kids to fall in love with the game, to get supporters roaring. At present, that roar is more of a grumble. Whether it is a grumble of anticipation or of mounting impatience, nobody is quite sure. To understand Borthwick the coach, it helps to remember what he was like as a player. Rewind to the 2010 Six Nations, when he was still a lock in Martin Johnson's team, and he was so wedded to his anonymity that he had to apologize twice for being boring, while admitting he could walk unrecognized down any London street. His idea of a riot this evening, according to his second row teammate Simon Shaw, was to stay up dissecting footage of an opposition line-out. The concern is that he is intent on forging an England side in the same worthy but unglamorous image. Borthwick is an eminently decent soul and deserves time to show his true pedigree in this job. The trouble is that he does not have much of it. Between now and the World Cup, he has just 2 tournament matches, against the 2 top-ranked teams on the planet. He is deluding himself if he thinks his side can ascend to France or Ireland's level with such a workmanlike, kick-heavy approach. England need greater flamboyance, for watching our video. Greater trust in such faces of the channel, comment and sharing our videos soon.